Good morning, everyone, and like Sinead said, I agree. I think it was a hell of a night last night, and I think everybody had a good time. At least I know the group I was with, we had a good, long night. To the ORC, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and it really has been a hell of a year since we gathered last in December in Toronto, and it is nice to be here in Ottawa. We continue to try to make tomorrow better than tomorrow. We continue to try to make tomorrow better than today for our members. Right off the top, I must say how proud I am of all of you, local leadership and workplace representatives in this room, for doing what you do for your co-workers and members. Being frontline advocates, working to make your workplaces better than when you started, is a great thing. And to the staff of the union, we understand that our roles are to guide you, to give you guidance and opportunities. Opportunities, from my perspective, is to allow the activists the knowledge and training they need, as many of you already have the desire of what makes Unifor so great. Your desire to make things better for workers all across Canada. It has been a year of opportunity for our members, an opportunity for those at the bargaining table to take advantage of the times we are in. We have achieved some amazing new collective agreements in many sectors of our union. Some sectors have taken advantage of the pandemic, and other sectors continue to struggle to get back to pre-pandemic levels. Things are not always fair, that is for sure. We struggle in some sectors to get to the recognition for the wages that the workers deserve. But we must grasp the times within the sectors and the industries that are making record profits. This shows, as the membership's expectations are high, that some absolutely amazing tentative agreements are being turned down. And as Lana said, we have had more than 25 strikes since our last ORC. We have always known that the importance of the Strike and Defense Fund, and now it is the insurance that gives the bargaining committees the confidence, if needed, that their union would be there for them. So I'd like to personally thank and acknowledge the tireless work put forward each day by all involved during the bargaining process on behalf of your members. But to the locals, I have an ask. We really need to make sure that during every round of bargaining that the local union financial secretaries and local executives do the proper preparedness and work with the director of the Strike and Defense Department, Barb Dolan. The department really works hard to prepare all the information that explains the rules and procedures of the minimum requirements necessary to conduct a successful strike. I will say one of the most important things that a local must be current with their dues and audits to qualify for the strike assistance. And in the event of a local union is not current, it takes a hell of a lot of work at the 11th hour before a deadline. So just before a strike deadline is not the time to be dealing with such a crisis as well. Remember, we need to educate our members on the requirements and responsibility in the event of a strike well in advance so that the bargaining committee can focus on getting a deal done. Historically, we pride ourselves of not being like some public service unions that would encourage members to come to a meeting and reject a deal or an offer from the employer. Unifor remains true to our legacy unions that we would have our committees always work together to bring back a recommended tentative agreement. We would bring our members together, share the documents proudly, walk through the modifications that we have achieved, and the membership would vote. All this was within the confines of a union meeting, closed spaces and safe spaces for our members. But the pandemic changed all of that to online negotiations, online meetings and ratifications, and using online proven secure voting technology. For some of our members, this has become not only the preferred way, but in some cases the only way. Participation in some units has risen, and a truer sense of workplace democracy has emerged in some circumstances. We have taken that closed, safe space into the virtual world. It really is a whole new world that, at times, I wish was still in the future. Just like each of us have examples where social media has gotten workers into conflicts with coworkers or the management at times, we ourselves need to manage how social media changes the way we do things. It has created some conflicts with our local unions and bargaining committees that we need to understand how to deal with such issues. Workers' expectations are high. Workers are comparing their workplaces to other industries, and social economic values makes our job very difficult at times. What I would like every representative to take away is we need to know our membership, listen to their concerns, and try as we can to deal with the concerns, always with a sense of doing it professionally and with confidence. The pressures of negotiations and the day in and day out responsibilities of being a representative can be tough enough to keep your membership engaged and educated on the issues. But with the social media component, I will say every round of bargaining really needs a strong campaign today to be successful, and local unions need to have a plan. Speaking to our members is so important, but making sure they have factual information is crucial. Moving on, yesterday I was so proud to hear Gina Smoke give her presentation, and she is a true friend, and I really thank her as a leader as she opens up the space for all of our allies as we walk in support of our Indigenous sisters and families. It was a year ago that Unifor had a presentation at the BC Regional Council on the Stolen Sisters and Highways of Tears that inspired so many. It inspired Unifor to support the Tears of Hope campaign. We have raised over $75,000 through local unions in all regions in Canada, having walks and social gatherings and more to do more. I think of how far we have come and how many Unifor members across Canada love the opportunity when given to support this work. Also, each year, more and more members have the opportunity to celebrate and honor the true meaning of truth and reconciliation. I am very proud of all the bargaining committees who have worked to enshrine September 30th as an important day to take pause and give space for the purpose for our activism. Also glad that I can say that it's more than just another day. In Unifor, all staff agreements, but a true mission to be adhered to. So much more needs to be done by all of us. We continue to fight and push the agenda on many fronts. Lana may have touched on some of these, but I think they're important. I'll reintroduce some of them. In transportation alone, we have so much work to do. Many of you know it is my history, and I am so proud that Unifor today is not shy to call ourselves a transportation union. We support supporting the thousands and thousands of members in the various transportation sectors of the Canadian economy. It was a pleasure to host the Unifor National Transportation Conference this past June in Port Elgin, as it had been a long time coming due to the cancellation during the pandemic. Recently, we reduced our Air Transportation Workers' Charter of Rights. We need not only our members to be engaged, but the traveling public, because we have much in common, meaning the lack of federal action to protect us both. Unifor's charter demands that the governments and the airport authorities do more to ensure that workers in the aviation industry have their fair pay and fair scheduling protections from contracting out and access safe and effective reporting mechanism when problems arise. We need to continue to push on the federal government to address unsafe and unsustainable workloads, providing proper training and more stability into our workplaces. No more contract flipping, no more race to the bottom. These are federally regulated workplaces in Canada. The traveling public deserves better, and our members deserve a hell of a lot more. And I must also say congratulations to our organizing department for expanding this sector's membership. We are building on our WestJet wins and now achieving some certifications in Porter Airlines and expanding our WestJet memberships. Congratulations. We continue with our Get on Track campaign and the Via Rail initiatives before it is too late. How many times have we heard, well, that train has left the station on that issue? Nope, it's not too late. We have not lost the fight, but we need to ramp up our fight and engage the public, because it's not too late now, and we do not if it's not too late now, but we do have to save this service. It will be cutting off many communities across Canada. Sure, in the core, maybe or maybe not, there may be some type of high-frequency service, but all the expense at servicing Canada with the national passenger rail system. We cannot lose this. It will be like the Detroit 3 bargaining all over again in 2024, leading to a December 31st deadline, and I'm speaking of the big rail bargaining, the big three for Unifor. CN, CP, and VIA will all be at the bargaining table, as you heard Lana speak to yesterday. It will be very important that we have a campaign to engage all of you, as we'll need the support of membership across Canada to do so. In the road transportation, Unifor supports the ITF Safe Rates campaign. And thank you to Western Regional Director Gavin McGarrigle and BC Area Director Mario Santos for the kickoff in Seoul, Korea of this global campaign as Unifor continues working with our global affiliates of the ITF. The International Transportation Federation has over 700 global affiliates, and we are proud to play a major role in that organization. Here in Canada, we added a little twist to the campaign to support our DHL owner-operators who are taking a shit-kicking from their employer right now. These owner-operators took a terrible payment system that none of us liked, but made it work for them, and in some locations made it work very well for themselves and DHL. They expanded their delivery volumes through great service and promoting their abilities to new customers, generating greater money for DHL at the same time. And during the pandemic, they worked very hard and in tough and uncertain conditions. Now, DHL is cutting their revenues by taking away these incentives and the systems in place. Shame on DHL Express Canada, and around the world on September 22nd, the ITF affiliate seen us demonstrating at many of the DHL locations in Canada. I want to not only thank Belcar Baines and the local 4457 leadership here and for their activism in Ontario in the many cities that we had our demonstrations, but also thank you to local 4003, the container truckers based in Brampton that supported our actions as well. The Safe Rates Global campaign is a very unique concept that more work can be done to enshrine those responsibilities as the economic benefactors are responsible for the supply chain logistics. Quite simply, we cannot let those who generate the profit not be connected to the responsibility of the final mile delivery and everyone who else performs work throughout the system. It also strives, where possible, to have the governments enact legislation to ensure the concept of safe rates and enforce penalties for those in non-compliance. The work Unifor has done with the BC container truckers over the last decade at the Port of Vancouver really is a special and should be recognized as a success story. This is an example of how the important work done through the ITF and with global solidarity. Really, the Safe Rates Saves Lives campaign can be used to highlight many things in many different ways and add to other campaigns that we currently have. It highlights the importance of health and safety, workplace speed-ups, ensuring workers have the proper hours of service and protections and just simply have enough time to safely perform their duties, operate a vehicle and adhering to the traffic situations, and be fairly compensated. And in the case of the owner-operators, have enough revenue to perform the proper maintenance and pay for fuel of their vehicles without taking away from the pay that should go home for their labor to support their families. And as we follow up to this campaign with other work that we do with the ITF, I also sit as the chair of the North American Road Transport Steering Committee, and I thank Road Transport Director Scott Bateman for the work on this file and also joining me recently to a meeting in Tokyo. Last week, Scott and I had the privilege of going to Tokyo and participating in a meeting, and I think we spent 30 hours in the air for a 12-and-a-half-hour meeting in Tokyo, but it was worth it. Before I move off road transport, while we're here in Ottawa, we need everyone here to support our members in Local 1688. What I'm saying is, no one should be using Uber right? Local President Amrick is suggesting that all of the Amrick is suggesting that everybody delete their Uber app. And also around the province and across the country, please support our taxi drivers wherever you can. To the marine sector, I must say congratulations on reviving the Marine Council in Unifor. Recently at our NEB, it was approved to be recognized as an industrial council. And I look forward to the great work that will be coming forward from them. As you heard recently, but I must say again, congratulations to the locals in Ontario as well as Quebec for the solidarity in achieving the new collective agreement after the one-week strike for those working at the St. Lawrence and the Great Lakes Seaways. You did a hell of a job. I'd like to speak a bit about the telco sector. Over the past few months, I've had a lot of honor of meeting with the telco bargaining committees from the Bellcraft, BTS, Expertech, and the clerical bargaining units. Collectively, these delegates stand for nearly 11,000 members here in Ontario. Our discussions have shed light on the ongoing issues with Bell Canada, a company that has shown consistent disregard for the welfare of its employees. The mental health of our members is suffering, morale is at an all-time low, and their Coaching for Success programs initiated by the company have proven to be nothing more than a sense of discomfort and difficulty for our members. Bell's so-called travel ban appears to be a thinly veiled attempt to undermine not only the grievance process, but also the Joint Labor Management Relations Committee meetings. This policy is created to eliminate in-person meetings. It is seen as an attack on Unifor's ability to appropriately defend our members and our collective rights. We have processes set out in many of the collective agreements, and we will be defending that position. Yes, in today's world, there are times when virtual meetings serve our purposes, and in fact, sometimes preferred, but not when used as a barrier to labor relations. We have also noted that a concerning trend is increased discipline actions against the sector's employees. The company has been performing deep dives into incidents dating back as far as 9 months, and in most cases are without just cause. The reality is outsourcing, erosion, and the pure neglect have proven to be the norm. It is clear that Bell Canada's divisive plans are designed to undermine and exploit our members. This strategy of divide and conquer is not only unethical, but it also goes against the very principles of fair work practices. Unifor will not stand by and watch our members are subjected to these attacks. We will not tolerate the company that prioritizes profit over people, that values division over unity, and that disregards the mental health and morale of our workforce. Clayton Nunn, Robin Dudley, and Roch LeBlanc are working very hard to know and make sure that I understand that these day-to-day concerns are rising. The time for patience and tolerance has passed. The delegates have spoken, and their message is clear: enough is enough. We will not be divided, we will not be conquered, and we will not be silenced. And in the coming months, we will be taking decisive action to address these issues. We will stand together and united to resolve to ensure that our members are treated with respect and dignity they deserve. And thank you for, and thanks for the many that are going to be from both Ontario and Quebec getting on buses next week and make a demonstration at the bargaining table to support our members at Expertech just as we get started and work on our campaign for next year. On the clerical and sales side of Bell, things are not much better. Very soon, the combined meetings of these locals will be taking place as well. And I thank National Rep Nina Bondanovich, who will not only bring these groups together, but will be working with the other units of Bell across Ontario and Quebec. 2023 was a big bargaining year on many fronts for Unifor, and at this time I would like to extend my thanks to the 3 bargaining units representing the Unifor staff. We have ratified new 3 collective agreements for our members. And thank you to the Service Department and staff and members of the CNRU and to COPE Local 343, representing our support staff across Canada, and Unifor Local 2458, representing our wonderful Family Education Center workers at Port Elgin. We did amazing work in each one of those bargaining tables, and as an employer, we are trying to address top-of-mind concerns in our workplace. And we just recently held our first National Executive Board meeting, which included the additional 5 sector representatives, and it was a very busy meeting. Many year-end reports and forward-looking policies were reviewed, and action plans for the future were undertaken. There were some tough decisions and cost and compliance concerns, and I thank the NEB members for making such tough decisions and knowing the viability and stability of the union is our #1 priority. It is an amazing process we have at Unifor, ensuring the structure and the credibility of the National Executive Board, and I mean rank and file membership and leadership, is recognized and maintained as within the structure of Unifor. And I will also commit that the National Union will be just as diligent entering 2024 as watching our expenses as we have been in 2023. Our expenses, like so many organizations, are on the rise back to pre-COVID situations where we need to always keep an eye on this. And I can tell you, the elected leadership, myself, Lana, Danielle, Gavin, Sammy, and Jen, all fully understand our responsibilities. Our roles are to guide and service the membership from coast to coast to coast within the resources that you provide. And just a moment on a couple points on the finances of the National Union. It is important that we live within our means, and that to me is defined by not spending more than you receive each year. From 2016 to 2020, the union was spending considerably more annually than the dues covered and not living within our means. And that was not sustainable. Proudly, starting in 2021, that changed and became a focus and a necessity that we must maintain. So, like in 2021, 2022, and as 2023 ends, we are in a position that all our expenses, all our salaries and benefits, all our travel and meeting expenses, and all our offices and other expenses, these are all covered by our dues. And we are not leveraging our assets or selling investments to cover our monthly costs or payroll, therefore protecting our union for the future. Our dues revenue is finally back and recently surpassed the levels of 2019. The union's expenses have increased post-COVID as we have pretty well resumed all normal activities. Even though, as I mentioned, that we have achieved 3 new collective agreements that increased our costs by 6.6% this year, it is our continued focus on expenses and spending and how we do business that is allowing us to stay on budget. And I need to highlight, for the National Union to be stable and Unifor to be on solid footings, we need each and all local unions to be in the same position. So if you are a local union struggling with compliance or liability issues, that means we should have a discussion. As always, the membership expects our union and at the local level and at the national level to be governed with integrity, and my goal is to work with each local to achieve such. I must take a moment and also remind all bargaining committees who negotiate social justice fund into your collective agreements of what great work it does and the changes it makes to better many communities in many places. Our international director, Navjeet Sidhu, works tirelessly to vet through the many, many requests we get annually to determine which organizations we can help. We have made some one-time donations and in other cases committed to longer-term, multiple years of support to see some projects through. Many of you would have received the handout presentation at the Canada Council outlining this work, and I can report that coming from the NEB this fall, Navjeet will have recommendations for 15 new Canadian projects and 5 new international projects to support. This social work our union does is tremendous, and this should give each one of us a sense of pride knowing that as hard as we work to make our members' working conditions better, Unifor also stands for making our communities better. We have experienced so many devastating weather and climate events over this past year as well, and we should all be proud that Unifor has the ability to make donations and work with the Red Cross and other support programs when necessary to help our members and their communities in times of need. This year alone, as this year comes to an end, the donations to food banks will be $250,000. Women's shelters across Canada will be receiving $125,000 and $20,000 to special refugee shelters for a total of $395,000 in donations this year. Also, it is great pleasure to see Unifor activists out on a regular basis doing this amazing work in our communities as we do this all across all regions in Canada. But here in Ontario, I must admit one of the highlights is the continued work and support of the locals in Southern Ontario, and specifically in the London region, on the Imagine Build project in Oneida, as we had worked a couple campaigns to make sure that this is a success. It was great to see that not only are raised funds and the donations being turned into real housing projects, but some hands-on activities supporting this work. So thank you to each of the locals that do this work. Thank you to Samia, your ORC executive. This is great work, and we love seeing that across Ontario. Please be proud of the work you do, and collectively our union does, for the greater work for the future. And just one more item before I'm through. The future and the future of our jobs. Just recently in Toronto, we hosted Unifor's Climate Change in Our Jobs, Building an Economy Where No Worker is Left Behind conference. So Vinay and his department developed an agenda which allowed the delegates to discuss how climate affects us and the work as workplaces and as workers. And the delegates responded by sharing their challenges, hopes, and their ideas for change. I want to thank those that were in attendance from Ontario and from across Canada, because workers need to have a say in how our jobs will look in the future. The power of Unifor is creating a space where we can have these discussions and organize for a better world. And once again, thank you to the rank and file leadership who have proven that local union participation is so important. And it is your participation that will assist us in policy and campaign building. We all need to be active in the discussions on what transition will look like. And we know that the best way for a worker to have their say in their work life is through collective bargaining. Unifor will continue to develop best practices and work with the various sectors and industry councils to ensure that we are in a better place in the future. Developing and sharing model language and for the protection of our current jobs is important, but also the development and guidance to ensure good union jobs are here now and in the future. Where we can push governments at all levels to roll out industrial policies that look at the things that we need here in Canada and make plans to build them here with good union jobs. And as an example, made in Canada, public transit can tackle climate change and create good jobs, because yes, we can do both. And how we use our voice as a union and our power as workers to bring more democracy to the process of planning for the economic future. How will we amplify the voices of hundreds of thousands of union members and find a way to also amplify those of millions of non-union workers in the future really will work for us all in the future. Unifor will continue to be the voice of labor in Canada. It is up to us to imagine it, to organize for it, and to bring it to life through worker power. Remember, it is up to us to imagine it, to organize it, and to bring it to life through our collective worker power.